8 plus 2 from the Mutavault is 10 lifelink damage. He goes up to 15, and then he has 2 mana left over. Assuming that we're doing the math right, he has 2 mana left over to play Snapcaster Mage to block the Elemental token. The problem with this plan, of course, is that he loses the Aetherling.
Right.
Because it's going to be an 8-1, and then damage is going to resolve from the 3-2 voice, so he's going to lose the Aetherling in that exchange.
Right.
And so that ends up being the problem. But at the same time, like, he's not dead then, because then he gets a chump block, and then if he peels Verdict, he might be able to still win. So I feel like that concession may have been a little bit hasty, but at the same time, he may have made an error that we didn't account for.
Right, and it was tough to see. Maybe some of his lands may have been off camera, so tough to see. But we're back in the booth for a reason. What reason would that be?
It's trivia time.
It is. I have a question.
That's so lucky, because I didn't plan on one, so I'll explain the rules.
All right.
Good. So what we're going to do here, of course, trivia time, if you guys have never played with us before, Joey's going to ask you a question this time. It's going to be for 3 months of Star City Games Premium, and you're going to go on Twitter. You're going to hashtag your answer with the hashtag of SCG Premium. It's right down yonder. That's what your Twitter answer needs to have with it, hashtag SCG Premium. And so what we'll do is at the conclusion of our quarterfinals, we will announce the winner. Again, it is about accuracy, not speed.
That's right.
So, you don't have to be the first one to answer. You just have to make sure you do have the answer right, and then we will select one of the people from the people who do get it correct. And then we will announce the winner after the round. But I'm going to let you ask your question. I bet it's a doozy.
It's, for 3 months of premium, it's got to be a tough one.
A doozy.
A toughie. So, we've had so much fun today watching all these matches. There was a certain deck that we really liked, and my question is, what player was featured on camera 4 times already today?
Wow, okay. All right.
I'll say even this. Back-to-back twice.
Back-to-back twice.
Yeah, so...
now, do they have to use this full name, or can they use an acronym?
I think any identifier, like, not just first name, that could be anybody.
Okay, that's
but,
true.
But they could use an acronym, anybody that if anybody can identify, a Magic player can identify, like, oh, that's that person.
A lot of people were asking. A lot of people were asking about his deck too.
Who wrote that article about the thing? And you say whatever, anything that that you'd put there, I guess, to answer that question, and okay, I know who wrote that article.
Yeah. All right, I can dig it. Again, hashtag SCG Premium for your answer. We'll announce the winner at the conclusion of our quarterfinals this evening, but we're going to take a look at the sideboards and cut back to the match between Charles Johnson and Jake Moldowsky. Again, Jake was your 1 seed coming into this round, Johnson being your 8 seed, but Johnson is up a game with Junk Aristocrats. We look at the sideboards here. You guys do see him on the screen. We'll go over Jake's first because he's going to be on the play. 1 Ratchet Bomb, a Clone, 2 Dispel, 1 Dissipate, 2 Negate, 1 Renounce the Guilds, 2 Talren, Sky Summoner, a Planar Cleansing, a Supreme Verdict, and 3 copies of Terminus. A lot of good cards for him to bring in here. 3 Terminus being the big one because that's going to trump the effect of creatures dying, going to the graveyard like a Doom Traveler, like a Voice of Resurgence. Same with Blood Artist as well. So those will certainly join us. I think an additional Supreme Verdict would be good as well. I mean, certainly could have used one last game.
He wanted one there.
Planar Cleansing you can make an argument for if you really just do want to go mass removal heavy. Don't really love Talren in this matchup. I can see an argument for it, but because Johnson doesn't have a ton of removal, so a Talren when you cast it's actually gonna probably stick around for a little while. You can pump out a lot of guys, but I think the fact that he's gonna be casting so much mass removal that I don't think you really need Talren to win. Renounce is okay, but not great. Some of that counter magic is okay, and then I think Ratchet Bomb is going to come in as well. I think that Moldowsky just wants to really just overload his deck with a lot of removal.
Yeah.
In this matchup, and then you just card drawing, Sphinx's Revelation, Shaw removal, and kill Johnson eventually.
Right, essentially make his deck into the same kind of deck. The reason Jund is good against these decks is because it breaks up those synergies.
Yep.
He just wants to make his deck mono removal, break up those synergies.
Yep.
On Charles' side of the board, he's got, obviously, you can see a sideboard there, Lifebane, Zombie, Abrupt Decay, Golgari, Charm, Putrefy, Garruk, Relentless, Appetite for Brains, Duress. So he brings in the Duress, probably brings in some amount of Appetite for Brains. What do you think?
Yeah.
Sphinx's Revelation, Aetherling, a lot of prime targets, Supreme Verdict.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good targets for the discard. I like Duress a lot. I like Appetite a decent amount. Restoration Angel is a card that it can take. Aetherling is a card that it can take. Terminus after sideboard, Supreme Verdict after sideboard, maybe that Planar Cleansing as well. We've got the main deck Rewind as well, but I know that's not really a big deal. But some of the cards that it can't take, it's kind of the issue that Duress can't take. Again, it can't take Revelation, it can't take Think Twice, it can't take counter magic like Dissipate or Essence Scatter. Azorius Charm being another one that it can't take. So that part of it kind of sucks, but there are some upsides as well. I think it's going to come in.
Right.
I don't know if you want all three of them because I think you're going to start by boarding in Duress and then some number with Appetite for Brains.
Right, Duress deals with the Sphinx's Revelation, and so you hope for that.
Yeah.
He's also got a couple of Planeswalkers, typically a tough thing for blue-white decks to deal with.
Garrick is interesting in this matchup because
he's not as good as the other Garrick. Right?
Yeah, I mean that's
you
for
want
sure.
the other Garrick against a control deck.
That's for sure. I mean, it is a 4-mana. It is a 4-mana spell that consistently pumps out 2/2s.
Right.
So that's worth something. The question to ask yourself is, are those 2/2s actually worth anything? Because in the matchup, you've got a deck that has like a lot of mass removal after sideboard, and also has Augur of Bolas and Restoration Angel, which those are cards that don't really care about 2/2s either. Garrick's tutoring ability is certainly good because it can find cards like Obsidian and stuff like that. But how good is Garrick? Is the investment level of a card where it takes a decent amount of work to actually turn it into Garrick the Veil Curse in this matchup, and then you can start tutoring and stuff like that. But is it worth it? Do you have enough cards to sideboard out to bring that in? I'm not convinced that he does.
Yeah, I think I was thinking about Golgari Charm as well, another way to fight against some of those Supreme Verdicts.
Yeah, I like that one a lot.
And then he's also got Lifebane Zombie, not a lot of targets, but Restoration Angel's pretty decent target.
Yeah, I mean, for Restoration Angels, the fact that the most important thing about Lifebane Zombie in this matchup is that it has Intimidate.
Right.
So it's basically a 3/1 unblockable. I think it's a Latch Seeker, I think was the name of that card. The 1 blue 3/1 unblockable.
I don't even remember.
I'm pretty sure that's what that is. But that's the important thing. If it does snag a Restoration Angel, I think you're running pretty good. But I think it being a 3/1 unblockable, again, you have to ask yourself, do you want that kind of card in this matchup? I don't want to discount the fact that you do get to look at your opponent's hand. You get information that way about how you want to, navigate the rest of the game once you do see their hand. But is it worth it to have a 3/1 that there's someone's really good at math. Matthias Hunt may be watching. What's the percentage chance that I actually end up snagging a Restoration Angel?
Yeah.
That's the question you have to ask yourself, and if that's worth bringing in. Golgari Charm's interesting because against these Azorius decks, you're going to be able to counter a Supreme Verdict. Guy used the term counter because you just regenerate your guys. But oftentimes you see Detention Spheres throughout these decks, and you don't see any here in Moldowsky's list. So if there were Detention Spheres, I think it's like an auto bring in, but there aren't. So it's not as good as it normally would be.
And these players do know each other's deck lists in the top 8. So Charles knows there are no Detention Spheres. But we're underway. Charles, I believe, on 6 yet again. And he is facing down turn 2 Augur of Bolas from Jake, and his turn 2, pretty impressive, Voice of Resurgence.
Honestly, the most important card in the matchup on Johnson's side. It changes the way that Moldowsky has to play the game in such a huge way that now he can just start casting his spells, force Moldowsky to have counterspell. There's a voice.
Yeah, so Lingering Souls meets Dissipate, so that's important for Jake because it does get rid of the both halves of the Lingering Souls.
Now the funny thing here is you look at Voice of Resurgence against this kind of deck, and the first thing that you're thinking is, okay, like Voice of Resurgence, it's in play, but if they don't remember the trigger, then they don't get the elemental token.
Yeah, and which would happen right there.
Yeah, which is what it looks like happened right here. And a lot of people, like, your thought process is like, oh, Voice is insane against blue-eye control, but it's not insane if you don't remember the trigger. But the trigger happens so rarely that a lot of times people forget it.
Yeah. So there you saw missed trigger, and looks like Charles is going to swing in with the Voice. It gets blocked by Augur of Bolas, and Tragic Slip takes it out. Cartel Aristocrat to follow things up.
He's going to play land and pass the turn back. So Charles Johnson should have an elemental token in play that could potentially be a 3/3 right now, but he did not remember that trigger. And I've seen this actually happen a lot, not just not just on camera, but like just when I'm walking around, because again, Voice of Resurgence, it doesn't happen that often, so a lot of people just forget that that's like the reason that you're playing the card.
Right. And both creatures in.
Risky.
Takes that one on the chin.
Touch risky. Because I think, like, if you're Moldowsky, like, if he doesn't have if Johnson doesn't have a Tragic Slip, I think you're in heaven trading your Mutavault for Voice of Resurgence.
Yeah. Obsidat, post-combat from Charles.
He's got the black and the white.
Does Jake have an Essence Scatter? Looks like no. So, Drain.
And Brain.
That's what they say. And
There it goes.
there you see the Obsidat phases out at the end of Charles's turn.
Well, there's a
And
Terminus off the top.
Miracle Terminus off the top. One of the best cards you can have against Voice of Resurgence. And Charles has to scoop 2 of his 3 creatures up because the Obsidat, of course, is hanging out in the ether somewhere.
And, you know, the thing about Terminus being like a huge draw right now, Terminus is going to be a huge draw whenever it's Miracle anyway because
Right.
it costs 1 mana. So he has the ability, does Moldowsky, to actually play a Terminus for 1 mana and have a bunch of mana available here to Azorius Charm to play Restoration Angel to Revelate, what have you. So Miracle Terminus in this matchup is going to be much better than a Hardcast Terminus. Yes, a Hardcast Terminus is going to be good a high percentage of the time if you can get there, but a Miracle one lets you do even, I mean, if it comes to this, you know, you Miracle Terminus and play Aetherling the same turn. That turn's insane.
Feels a lot like a Sword of Peace and Famine where you'd hit with an untap. And
Yeah.
And I played something. And
It feels like
Right.
exactly the same.
Right, you're like, I play Sword of Peace and Famine, equip, attack, untap. Like, I just got that totally for free. It's like one of those kind of things. Varolz is the play from Charles.
I love the no attack here.
No
You don't
attack.
want to open yourself up to Azorius Charm for any reason. You know, it gets charmed back to the top, and then all of a sudden, you know, you're drawing, and then it gets countered on the way back down. You don't want to open yourself up to that. But by not attacking, you're not putting a ton of pressure on your opponent, so that Moldowsky can draw what he did just draw in Sphinx's Revelation, and actually be able to fire that off. So there's a big trade-off between attacking and not attacking here with Obsidat.
So, Obsidat comes back, drains for another 2, and a Voice of Resurgence is the play from Charles here.
Voice
And-
pre-combat's insane every time against this deck because now it forces Moldowsky to do something he doesn't want to do, which is like rev in response. Maybe you know,
Yeah.
he doesn't rev in response, and now he's going to rev. I wonder if he's.
No,
This
he's
is-
not revving in response, this is post-combat.
Yeah, I
right?
mean the thing that's really interesting to me is this is the second one that Johnson has missed. Voice trigger.
Wow.
So
Come on, Charles.
To me, it's almost like he doesn't know. And you just saw him shrug his shoulders here. Honestly, that's like super bold by Moldowsky because like he missed the first one in the game. So I think he honestly was just like, okay, well, I just don't think he knows. And all right, I'll cast Revelation after it
Yeah,
happens,
I-
and he didn't see it again. So now you're just like, now you're kind of like free rolling, right? Because
Right.
now it's like, okay, when does he realize it? Because like if you get like arrogant and you're just like, oh, you have no idea, and he's like,
Right.
make an elemental, you're like, crap. You missed the first 2
Yeah,
times.
you can't assume he's not gonna remember.
Yes.
I mean, I think you know Charles is thinking ahead so much he's forgetting about what's happening right in front of him.
Yep.
So an Aetherling comes down for Jake, and you know that could be trouble. But Charles is in a pretty reasonable spot here. He does have an Obsidat, he does have a Varolz, and he does have a Voice of Resurgence that does have text.
It's not just a hard to cast 2/2, my friend, I promise. Aetherling shows up to the party, and, you know, Aetherling's got a lot of work to do here. Charles Johnson's sitting at 26. He's going to blink this out and just pass the turn back here. So it looks like, you know, he doesn't really have a lot of action in his hand. And Aetherling, while it does have a lot of work to do, it can get work done fast.
Yeah, and there is another, there's an Azorius Charm in Jake's hand. We saw that do some work with the Aetherling
Yep.
last game. Didn't win him the game, but it almost got
Yeah,
him there.
It almost got him there. So unblockable to start.
So Aetherling's going to swing in. We're going to see Jake now, looks like pumps the Aetherling 4 times. So that's 8, and it looks like phase out, end turn. Aetherling phases back in.
Mm-hmm.
Charles untaps his Obsidat, phases back in.
I'm really interested to see what's in Charles Johnson's hand right now.
Yeah, me too.
Not playing any spells. Draws a Godless Shrine for the turn. I don't know if he's just flooding out badly, which is something that happens with this deck a decent amount. There's an Overgrown Tomb, but we know he has a Godless Shrine, so he could be flooding in a bad way here. Tough spot here for 2s because that Elemental token would help a lot right now because it'd be a 4/4.
Yeah. So Obsidat phases out. Jake now down to 6.
Quick update for you guys as well. On the other side of our bracket, Tom Hertfelder does defeat Seth Manfield 2-0, so he's going to be moving on to competition tomorrow. He'll actually be playing the winner of this match between, again, Charles Johnson and Jake Moldowsky. So congratulations to Tom. We'll at least be seeing him tomorrow. We'll find out the rest of the matches as we do get results in.
So there you can see the Aetherling attack yet again, unblockable, pumped 4 times, and this time he uses the Azorius Charm to give it lifelink. So Jake going to go up to 16 here, and Charles down to 12.
For some reason, Joey, I think I'm going to see that interaction a lot over the next like year.
Yeah.
Because these cards
It's a
are
good
both
interaction.
legal. These cards are both legal after rotation, and it's going to infuriate me because I love playing creature decks.
It feels so good too to be the Aetherling Azorius Charm player.
I know I'm not one to normally play control decks. I mean, Aetherling is just like, it's not the right time for it right now. Not to say like it's not dominating this game, because it is, but like, you know,
Right.
the format isn't ripe for it. But you know, if Pro Tour Dragons Maze was any indication, this thing is just going to be a nightmare.
So it looks like another land drop for Charles. I think that was off the top, so I don't know if, like you said, he may be flooding out. He's trying to decide what he wants to do here. Jake with 2 mana untapped, representing another Azorius Charm, potentially for Obsidat.
I mean, as things stand, if we keep playing this song and dance, Jake Moldowsky is going to win in 2
Yeah.
turns. So we have to do something here. If you're Johnson, the problem here is that his options are not great, as he's looking at an untapped Aetherling right in the face.
Yeah, Charles doing some math here. So Aetherling eats everybody but Obsidat. Just chump block. Not chump block, but bounces off the Obsidat. They both survive combat there, unless Jake were to pump the Aetherling, in which case that he would trade with Obsidat. Instead, Charles chooses not to attack, phases out the Obsidat. Jake falls to, or Jake's not going to fall yet, but right now both players at 14, and now Jake is going to yet again attack with the Aetherling, pump 4 times, and phase out his Aetherling. End his turn, Aetherling comes back. Jake's going to fall to 12, Charles now at 8. So he needs to draw something here. What did he find? It looked like a spell, but I didn't quite catch what it was. I feel like it may have been Appetite for Brains, which is way late.
Yeah, no kidding.
And you can see Jake actually holding another Azorius Charm, so it's looking way out of reach for Charles this particular game.
Yeah, I mean, he can get info, which is like a step in the right direction with Appetite.
Yeah, I don't even know if it was Appetite, but
He's playing this untapped. It's interesting.
yeah, it is interesting. What does he have that he wants
Soren?
to?
Desecration Demon.
Demon. Okay.
Doesn't really change very much. I guess the thought process here is I can go sack this to Viral, scavenge onto something, give it something +6/+6, try to kill you. If that's even possible at this point.
Yeah, I'm not real sure that the math works out that way.
Yeah, I don't think the math works the way that he wants it to at all.
He may have a plan though. I don't know. Yeah, he
Figured it out.
packs it in. Can't beat the Aetherling.
Yeah, this is the concede to Aetherling plan.
Yeah. Hope he realizes about those missed triggers by this point. Maybe keeps a little better eye on things.
Yep.
Missed 2 Voice of Resurgence triggers. I don't know if things would have changed that much that game. I mean, he would have had, I guess, a couple of elementals.
The first voice miss trigger, I think, ends up costing him 2 points of damage. The second one is the big one because it would have given a 4/4 to go along with the Varels, the actual voice, and then the Obsidat. And then he can start just attacking and like just pushing through damage. And so that's the big one there. You know, the first one I don't think is like the end of the world, even though he does end up missing 2 points of damage. But the second one is like a pretty big deal, unfortunately.
All right, so we're going to Game 3 here between Charles Johnson and Jake Moldowsky here in the quarterfinals of the StarCityGames.com Standard Open, live from Baltimore. Junk Aristocrats versus Blue White Control. It's the 8th seed versus the 1 seed. And who would have thunk the 1 seed, Blue White Control?
You would have.
No, actually, I didn't really. I did not have much faith in that that conviction. I wanted Blue White Control to show up, and I'm pleasantly surprised.
It feels pretty legit to me, like what this deck
Yeah.
is trying to accomplish right now. It seems like it's pretty well positioned. It seems like slightly ahead of the metagame. Like it's adjusted appropriately as the control deck or the Sphinx's Revelation deck to try to beat right now. And again, things are only going to get better for it post rotation, we assume. Theros will add what it adds, but this strategy moving forward, I think, is just going to be a good one. When you have cards of the power level of Azorius Charm, Aetherling, Sphinx's Revelation, Supreme Verdict, all within the same color combination, you're going to have a deck there.
Yeah.
You don't know what the exact contents of the deck are going to be, but you're going to have a deck there.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to see how things shape up post-rotation.
Yeah.
I want to play more Jace Architect of Thought myself.
Oh yeah, I forgot that was a thing.
That's a thing as well, yeah. So, a lot of good blue-white cards available, Actually, right now they're available. It's just the problem is the format's not incredibly friendly for them.
Yeah.
And I think the funny thing is this weekend probably was a good weekend to show up with blue-white control because everybody thinks control sucks.
Yeah, I agree.
And so you show up with this deck, and people, don't have their, Skull Cracks and Notion Thieves.
I mean, you
Not
got,
that those cards see a ton of play anyway.
You've got 2 in the top 8. So.
Yeah.
2 in the top 8, and then 2 other players who are really good. We're playing this weekend again, Harry Corvesi and Chris Pikula, who, they didn't make top 8, but 2 people who certainly respect what this deck is trying to accomplish. Jerry Thompson, again, almost playing it as well. It seems to be a pretty good strategy if you're looking for a Sphinx's Revelation deck of this nature. I don't think that Esper or Blue White Red are well positioned right now for various reasons. And again, if you're looking for this type of strategy, I think this is the way to go. It's funny that we're back to square one of Adam Prozac kind of put this deck on the map.
Yeah, way back in the fall?
Yeah, it feels like forever ago, honestly. Kind of put this strategy onto the map. Is Johnson going to take a mulligan to at least 6 here?
Yeah, this is the 3rd mulligan in this match. So Johnson on 6 cards all 3 games, and Jake looks like he's going. Oh no, he's not. Okay, I saw him reach for the deck. And
Yeah, he doesn't look thrilled.
No, he doesn't. That's why I thought he was going to 6 as well. Charles, as I mentioned, is the owner of Brewport Games. That's 1826 East Joppa Road in Parkville. I'm pushing for him, man. It's awesome. If you're local or if you want to come down and play in the Baltimore area, it's a really great shop. Just opened up back in May, and I think attendance has picked up quite a bit over the past few months.
So you know the address without writing it down?
I looked it up.
Okay, I was gonna say you just ran that off with the greatest of ease.
I looked it up so that I would have that available, that information. Actually, it was just total guess. I don't even know if that's that is the address.
Gonna rehydrate, Mr. Moldowsky. Again, we'll be announcing our winner of the 3-month giveaway after this round is over.
Yeah.
And of course, tomorrow morning we start bright and early at 8 a.m. But we'll be giving away 6 months of premium in our semifinals, 12 months in the finals of the Standard Open. We'll take a short break, and then we'll rock some Legacy for the rest of the day. Absolutely. See if Todd Anderson can repeat. Brad couldn't do it. We'll see if Todd can.
Yeah, that's right. All right, looks like Charles is going to take a look at his opening 6 now.
You happier? Oh,
no.
Nope.
Well, sometimes you got to go to 5.
Hey, it's not impossible.
No, not at all. And a deck like Blue White Control is going to give you at least a little more time to set up. You're not going to 5 or 4 against a extremely aggressive mono red deck that's going to really take advantage of you stumbling.
Yeah,
I
agreed.
think it's a little safer to mulligan against a deck like this. Although Jake has shown a willingness to just play a naked Aetherling on turn 6.
Yeah.
Which is definitely a sweet play, but a little scary, I think.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting because his deck can just play Aetherling on turn 6 with no mana up because Johnson's deck is just Tragic Slip or bust at that point, and Tragic Slip isn't a card that you even want to leave in after sideboard against this deck for the most part. I can see an argument for leaving a couple in, but if Johnson, for example, right now sees an opening had 2 Tragic Slips in it and 2 lands and a creature, it's just you mulligan at 3.
Yeah.
For the most part, so.
All right, looks like he's good with his 5. So I can do with this. My turn. All right.
Get it started. Duress will do it.
Duress on turn 1 takes 2 to do it, but I think that's totally acceptable. And we're going to see Sphinx's Revelation, Restoration Angel, Supreme Verdict, Azorius Charm, Island, Glacial Fortress.
Yeah.
Only 2 of those cards rotates.
That's true.
Restoration Angel, Glacial Fortress, and everything else is live post-Theros. He's going to take the Supreme Verdict. Interesting.
Touch surprised. Curious what his hand is. We'll find out at some point.
Maybe just a second Duress is in there somewhere.
Potentially. See more than haunt the draw.
Glacial Fortress for Jake. Charles is going to play a second turn Cartel Aristocrat. And a Supreme Verdict off the top for Jake.
Can't duress him from the top of the deck.
No. not how that works. So, third turn for Charles. He's going to swing in with the Aristocrat. And Jake's going to take 2. So we're at 18 all here. Charles passes the turn, and we have an Azorius Charm cycled for Jake at the end of turn. Draws a Hallowed Fountain, untaps, and draws into a Think Twice.
And so building some nice velocity for his deck. Gonna play Hallowed Fountain, tap, pass the turn. Just getting deeper in his deck, making sure he gets his land drops so we can start unloading big revelations down the road here.
Aristocrat in knocks Jake to 16. And Charles has a play this turn, and it is a Varolz, the Scar Striped.
There's a Township.
It resolves, and a Township follows. Jake is going to think twice here at the end of Charles's turn. Draws card for the turn. He finds, I believe, another copy of Think Twice and an Augur of Bolus. I could be wrong. It could be Aetherling, actually, but...
See Augur, yeah, it's an Aetherling over there.
Is that Aetherling behind
so
the Augur?
He's found his win condition, too.
It is Aetherling.
He's doing pretty good right now. He's going to just 4 mana, pass the turn back. Draw a card for Johnson. Draws a land here. A land is like pretty big here because he has Obsidian in his hand, and he can activate Township. So like a land would be like a fantastic draw. There's Restoration Angel.
So Restoration Angel is going to mid-combat ambush.
It's funny because it actually gets to kill something. Like if Restoration Angel blocks their Varolz, then like I think you just sack the Aristocrat to save it. Yeah. And if it blocks Cartel Aristocrat, then I think you maybe sacrifice the Varolz to give it protection from white. Oh, there's okay, so you actually drew the land. Drawing the land there is insane.
Yeah, so you see a Temple Garden, the 5th land, and Charles is going to land an Obsidat. Now, Obsidat a little too slow to race Aetherling we saw earlier, so we'll see. We'll see how that pans out.
It's good now.
And I don't think Jake even has his 5th. Oh, he has a 5th land. There's a Moorland Haunt.
Start by attacking. And see, like unlike the last game, I think that Charles is in no position to actually hold back. Like unless Moldowsky like reveals Azorius Charm right now, there's a Sphinx's Revelation. He's in no position to hold back. Like he just has to get in the red zone with the Obsidat. Like he just has to be aggressive. The longer the game goes, the worse it is for him. He's on a mulligan to 5. Like you know your opponent has a Revelation in his hand. Actually, you know he has 2. So you just have to get the game over with. So like Obsidat's going to come back in. I think what you do on this turn, if you're Johnson, like depending on the draw step, is you scavenge onto the Varolz with the Aristocrat, and you just have to get him dead. You just have to be hyper aggressive.
Hit for 5 and kill the Augur.
Yeah,
or
you
hit for
can't.
10, right?
Yeah, you can't bob and weave around like I hope you don't have Azorius Charm, like because you're in no position to do that.
So we're gonna see what Charles actually does here. We'll see if he comes up with that same line of play. Charles played blue, white, red for a long time, and actually recently switched to Junk Aristocrats and feels like he's having much more success with it. Top 8ing, I guess, is evidence of that.
Yeah.
And you see he does scavenge the Cartel Aristocrat onto the Varolz.
Looks like Lingering Souls, maybe? 3 mana spell. Putrefy. this?
Putrefy to deal with the Angel.
Come on, get in there with both. Come on.
And
Yes.
it looks like, yeah, both creatures attack.
Got to.
So it's a 5/5 and a 4/4.
Gonna flashback thing twice. Island is the draw. I'm a little interested to see. I'm a little surprised by the Putrefy there on the Angel. Got a quick update for you guys. Joseph Herrera actually does defeat Brian Stipp playing Green Black Rock. So Mono Red is going to move on to the to the semifinals. Herrera, the 3 seed, with the Mono Red kind of big red mid-range deck. That's moving on tomorrow.
So we see the Augur of Bolus jumps in front of Obsidat.
Got to blink it out.
Knocks Jake to 8, and Charles is.
Actually, oh man. So this is kind of interesting too, right? Because, okay, so you can make the argument for blinking it out, okay? You blink it out, and then, like, your Varolz is open to being Supreme Verdict. But if you don't blink it out, and you let it stay, and he casts Supreme Verdict, you regenerate your Varolz with the Obsidat. You sacrifice it, and then you scavenge onto your Varolz and kill him.
Yeah, that's pretty insane.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the Augur would have gotten in the way.
Yep.
So, but it is a Supreme Verdict followed by Augur of Bolus for Jake Moldowski's turn, and the Obsidat, which did phase out, phases back in here. Is going to drop Jake to 6, and draw for the turn for Charles. Didn't quite see it. It looked like a gold card, but it could have been like a Temple Garden.
Yeah.
It's going to swing in with Obsidat. It's going to get chumped by the Augur of Bolus, and we have a gold card. It was a Cartel Aristocrat. Obsidat phases out. Jake in danger of dropping to 4 here.
Yeah.
Very likely to drop to 4 off of that Obsidat.
We are going. This is a pretty insane game actually. Johnson's making just an insane game out of it on Mulligan 5.
I like how he sits with his hands folded.
Yeah.
Like whatever. Feels like an F6, right? Just like, you do what you're gonna do.
Yep, pretty much. Do what you gotta do, man.
The body language is great. That's all. I'm just.
So you see 6 lands right now. 3 islands, Moorland Haunt, Glacial Fortress, Hollow Fountain. Moldowsky has a Hollow Fountain in his hand right now. A couple of cards, 2 Revelations, a Syncopate, an Aetherling.
So he is 6 lands in play, right?
Yep.
And he's going to go ahead and play a
7th land.
tapped Hallowed Fountain. He can play Naked Aetherling, but he decides not to. He's going to save it for the a Revelation, presumably.
I feel like he might be trying to rep like Snapcaster Mage or Azorius Charm or something of that nature. But again, if you're Johnson,
You don't have any other
you have
options,
no
right?
option but to keep attacking and hope that he just does not have those cards and is just trying to revelate. You're just priced in. And you see that Moldowski's looking at a thing twice right now too, so he could spike a Terminus. But step 1 is just attacking both the creatures if you're Johnson.
Didn't see the card drawn for the turn for Charles.
It's actually a pretty big turn here for Moldowsky too, because he's sitting at 4 life right now, and he can actually get in the way of the Obsidat. So his turn's actually really cool here for Moldowsky, because what he can do is go think twice, hope to spike Terminus. And if he doesn't hit, then he can make a creature with Moorland Haunt and block the Obsidat. He'd go down to 2, and then Obsidat's trigger could be looming to kill him the next turn.
Right.
He's got Revelation.
Revelation
He's got
to stay
Revelation to
alive.
gain life. Yeah.
So it's certainly not over for either player here.
Again, if you're Charles Johnson, you just have to come to the realization that holding back Obsidat is no.
No, so just
I hate
the
it.
Cartel Aristocrat. And he's going to go ahead and activate the Gavany Township.
It's a situation where you have to make him have it, because what you're doing now by making this attack is you're turning on Revelation. That's the problem with the attack, is that you're making Revelation good now, where you could be in a situation you make Revelation bad, because now he's more than happy to just go to 1 and Revelate back up to 4.
Yeah, so that's what he does, and Obsidat phases out.
Yep.
Jake untaps with full grip, more than full grip.
Again, you gotta make him have it. Plays a Glacial Fortress.
Still wondering what that card for the turn was for Charles.
Yeah, me too. Again, it's super easy to be here and say, you should attack. He doesn't have his Azorius Charm. What are you doing? but
When you're down there. It's
but when you just have to deduce the information of, I'm on a mulligan of 5. I know my opponent has 2 Revelations in his hand. So, the more turns we play over the course of this game, it only gets bad for me. Because, if we go to turn 12, there's no way I'm winning. It's just not going to happen.
All right, Jake is tapping away.
Looks like the Verdict might be in.
Yeah, Verdict wants to trade with that Cartel Aristocrat. And trade it does. Cartel Aristocrat destroyed there. Charles untaps. Obsidat comes back. Jake falls to 2.
This is super interesting too now, because I think Moldowsky might just be able to, because he doesn't have his Azorius Charm in his hand. He's just, I think he might be playing the game in such a way where he just knows that Johnson won't attack with his Obsidat, so he can play the game in a different manner than if he was confident that Johnson would attack.
So is that just 4 lands untapped, or are there 5? Is
I
there?
believe there's 4 there, because the turn prior he played Hollow Fountain tapped. That was line number 7.
That's right.
Yeah,
You're right.
so there are 4 down there.
So Revelation for 1 here is this the max he can do at the moment. Obviously, if he has a turn, then he's much more likely to cast a Revelation then.
Sideways.
Yeah, you turn the Obsidat sideways here, and the worst that happens is Azorius Charm, right?
And Azorius Charm is bad, but again, you make him have it, or make him have Restoration Angel or something. Even if it's just a Moorland Haunt activation, make him do that. Don't let him flash back think twice. Don't let him get deeper into his deck. Just don't let him do those things.
Yeah, because the other option is not getting you anywhere. I guess the Obsidat is draining occasionally, and I guess you feel like that's winning you the game to some degree, but it's just too slow of a clock. It would be okay
if you didn't know your opponent had Revelation, but you know he has both, one from the Duress on turn 1
And one
from the
Augur,
Augur. So
yeah.
you know he has both, so you can't sit.
So Charles trying to decide whether or not to go for it. Still can't get a great look at his hand. First I thought it was Abrupt Decay then, and now I think it might be another Cartel Aristocrat.
Yeah, he's got a spell and he's got a land.
Yeah, that's what it looks like to me too. A gold spell.
I think it might be a Varel.
Yeah, it's maybe a Varel.
Yep.
So yeah, Varels is the play from Charles Johnson. So here we are, very tense tie game here in the quarterfinals of the Star
No
City
attack
Games.com Open Series here in Baltimore. Charles ends his turn. Think Twice from Jake, a phased out Obsidat from Charles, and Jake at 2 life with a fresh Dissipate off the top, a Sphinx's Revelation in hand. 9 lands in play, so he can Revelation up to 8 if he'd like. Of course, this is not where he would choose to do that. One, two, three, 9. Yeah, so Jake trying to figure out what his play is. He
I don't think he has much of one.
yeah,
really.
I mean, so if he Revelations up to 8, he dies because he's tapped out in Obsidat. Now not afraid of an Azorius Charm.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly no reason for him to make a move on his turn.
Right, but now he needs to make a move at this point.
Yeah.
And so he needs to decide how he wants to stay alive here with this Obsidat trigger on the stack that is going to kill him. So he's going to rev for 3, it looks like.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to rev for 3 with the ability to spike Terminus or Moreland Haunt.
So if he wants to spike Terminus, he has to be careful about how he draws these cards too.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's the first one.
Yeah, so he does look, it's
Okay,
not Terminus,
so
it's
it's
Island. 2,
There's Azorius Charm, that's the big
3.
one.
So he did find an Azorius Charm.
Charm's the huge one there.
So Obsidat trigger resolves,
Just in a
Jake
3.
falls to 3.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
So he can scavenge. What else is available besides one Azorius Charm? Is he just has 3 mana available, right?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I believe he has 4 available.
Okay.
Yeah, so his land 7, land 8. Yeah, he should have 4 available.
Okay, he's going to scavenge. Yeah, it looks like just 3. So he scavenges onto the Varels, so Varels is a 4/4. So either of these creatures hitting is lethal. Jake has access to at least 1 Azorius Charm. Can he deal? And it's the hand.
Wow.
Charles
Unreal.
Johnson on to the semifinals, scraping by. What a match.
Unreal.
On a mull to 5.
Unreal, he wins that game.
On a mull to 5. Charles Johnson over Jake Moldowsky. Junk Aristocrats over